Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Halim wa salim bikum. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Or to my full bay community, Anjarama, Anjarama Ajambe, Midu Wadi Ma Jarama, or Haba Ajam, Jamwali. How you doing today, my dear brothers and sisters? I know this is a short notice. Some have been anticipating this particular topic, and I hope I do not disappoint. What I have uncovered, my brothers and sisters, is a scholarship and a method that only Subhanahu wa Ta'ala could grant. And Allah's divine favor and mercy upon us. And here again, brothers and sisters, we're not slighting anybody, but we have to look at the facts as what they are. No one can dispute the outstanding scholarship of the Fulani community. They were instrumental in spreading of Islam through the Sahara, through the Savannah region, through the Sahel, through West Africa. And Subhanahu wa Ta'ala blessed us for that. And I'm going to talk about some people today, perhaps many of you do not know about. Great feats that don't make sense. We know they have been recorded, we have oral traditions, and we also have some written documentation from Timbuktu on this. When I finally got hold of some of this valuable gems of information, I had to give it to you. Weeks back, I did a program and talking about some of the oral traditions that I was told when I was in Ghana. That's before I even knew I was I was Pullo. I didn't know at that time, way back in 2002. And I told you, I talked to Baba, who's now passed there in eastern part of Ghana. And he explained to me about all of these tales of great Sufi Sheikh Islam who defied any rationale that we understand. Walking across the Sahel region, there's lion prides all over the place. They walk right through. Nobody touches them. It goes on and on. Scholarship, that's just unbelievable. I came across, there's so much information. I could do many classes. I will, inshallah ta'ala. You heard me talk about the interstellar space. We've had information now where we have charts that were written by our ancestral fathers. So it goes on and on, brothers and sisters. But here I'm going to talk about something. You have to understand why the brilliance you see through West Africa today. You see the brilliance of the Futafula and their scholarship, and the greatest of scholars here. In Timbuktu, 5 great scholars were deemed as the greatest of all in Timbuktu. 3 of them were Futafula. They were Fulbe. And that is an accomplishment considering the centuries that Timbuktu was operating in. So I'm going to cover this. And when I got some of this information, I almost start to laugh. Because if you can envision things, brothers and sisters, it's not funny in the sense that you don't believe it, but it's so out of our, because you don't look at modern times. But in those times like this, it was not far-fetched because there was things going on before us that, it was common knowledge. But in modern times, we don't have these kind of men. We don't have this Allah's divine favor like we had on our ancestral fathers. Yes, he has blessed the Fulani community with a lot of scholarship. Oh yes, no doubt about that. some of the richest men in Africa today are what? The Fulla. We know that. The greatest scholars going across through here who are well known by other scholars outside of Africa are who? Fulbe. And it goes on and on and on. But we have to go back to the genesis of this, brothers and sisters. We have to ask why. And we're going to cover some of that. Okay. Joanna, my dear cousin, how you doing? Thank you very much for showing up. Thank you, my dear cousin. Thank you very much for showing up today. Really appreciate that. So let's get started. Oh, excuse me. It's not the right one. Here we go. Allah's divine favor to Fulani scholarship. As you can read this here, these notes here I've drafted up here to explain the depth of information that's now surfacing. As we start to put the documents from Timbuktu manuscripts, which there's hundreds of thousands of documents. And now we started to uncover these documents. And we're starting to find out that many of Allah's divine favor was bestowed upon Fulani scholarship. And what did we come up with? Across the Sahel and Savannah, West Africa region, the story of Fulani scholarship is inseparable from Allah's divine favor. And for centuries, the Fulbe have carried a unique, trust to preserve, teach, and embody Islamic knowledge with sincerity, humility, and discipline. And the Fulbe people were prepared for knowledge. Before Islam came, we already had Pulaku. We already had scholarship that we carried with us, and through traditions and oral traditions and written traditions of our knowledge that we gained in Tahmeri, which we know today as Egypt. So when Islam hit us, it just went off the charts. Subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us by giving us here in West Africa first the Islam. And the Fulani scholarly lineages, as you can see here, is great. A divine opening of hearts towards the Quran and Sunnah. This is what he bestowed upon us. Why he blessed us with all of this scholarship. Because Subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine opening of hearts toward the Quran and Sunnah, this is what he did for us. He saw that when we begin to take it, he saw how much fervor we had in it. So he began to help us, to nurture us into becoming what we were and how we became. Oh, excuse me, that's the wrong one. Here we go. Yeah. This is important also, brothers and sisters. As you see here, the full of scholars from, it's so much scholarship, but you hear me always talking about Takrur, and Takrur was active since 711 AD. And in one of these days, inshallah ta'ala, I will get to Takrur because it's a unique situation. And what we found with our scholarship, and what even the Arabs, when they came into the region, what they found also that befuddled them was the strong chains of knowledge, the mastery of the Quranic memorization, precision in Maliki jurisdiction, depth in theology, logic, and Arabic grammar. It blew them away. You can imagine you have an Afro-Arab coming in from the Jazira Arab in the Middle as we know it today. He heard about these, in 711, especially 711 to 1000s, the Arabs began to come in this region because they heard about the veiled ones. Remember, I told you about this. You heard me say about the veil where you found men in turbans and face veils. Belediyun, that's what we call this in Arabic language. And he began to write, they began in these 300 years, began to write about this scholarship. So this, we have it here showing you, giving you this information to you. Allah's favor is the most visible in how scholarship shapes society. And this is true. See, and we had communities governed by scholars and not by warriors. This is important because the scholarship was spread not through the sword, brothers and sisters. It was spread through the full of knowledge and their care for Islam and how they operated. So when they went on the caravans, they began to talk to people and they brought people to Islam. And I'm giving you the basis because I'm going to build up to the ones that you may not even heard of. I uncovered some of our ancestral fathers were off the charts. And I'll get to some of this. And it's, I sit back for 2 days. I wanted to do a program. I just could not believe what I've uncovered. And so I had to sit back and go back over this again and again to ascertain if it was, if it was true or not. What can I say? I think I might have skipped one. The living legacy, the leadership, the Fulani model showed that scholarship is not an ornament. It is a foundation for justice, unity, and spiritual refinement. When people began to notice us and how we operated, and we operated in such a way that we were, we were seen as people. When they came to visit us in the Sahel region, they found us mapping out the stars. They found us with innate knowledge that it didn't make sense to many common people. Now we understand why. Because as even non-full people begin to write about the exploits of our scholarship, they saw these things. So this is how some of this information came about, brothers and sisters, is because of that. Now, I'm going to show you something here. This is the Proverbs, excuse me. This is in Fulani dialect. I'll leave this up for our brothers and sisters who can understand. This is in Messina, Fulani Messina, Messeria. And this here, again, one thing about you have to understand about our history is that we are governed by Proverbs. Our very educated, intelligent intellectuals among us have been quoted for every generation, and they have beautiful, proverbs discussing all walks of life. Here we're talking about and this is the people I'll get to about in here, Jahkaabe people. I'll get to them here shortly, inshallah ta'ala. And this is the Proverbs now you see in English here that they wrote. And you have to understand what's the significance of the lions. Even the Nabi alayhi salam, even the early Muslims had big prominence upon lions. When Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, when he talked about Khalid Saifullah Maslud, remember him, who was our greatest general, he was described as a lion. When you talked about Hamza, him also described as the lion of the desert. So the lion exemplifies many things in especially in Africa and in the Middle East. And the Proverbs here are indicative of what I'm about to talk to you about, to kind of give you a heads up about these people here. They're Muslims. They are a special class of Muslims. They lived for, especially they were noted, especially in the Middle Ages, and their prominence and stuff and their exploits were recorded by Fulani scholars and by non-Fulani as well. Even in Timbuktu, they talked about this particular class of people. Now, before we get deeper to this, we're going to talk about the okay, that's okay, yeah, that's the okay. Now, what brings us to the point of why I'm here talking about this, why I'm suggesting, why I'm telling you how we've gotten so so much scholarship and divine favor from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The curriculum that we have, Baba sitting under the baobab tree, talking to his relatives and the people of that particular clan and village and so forth and so on. And then as the scholarship began to develop greater, you had men walking across the Sahel teaching. We had an educational system. Reason why this was working, you heard me talk about this. In 2014, brothers and sisters, they had, I told you, they had 3 boys. They were 5, 6, and 7 years old. And this one Tubab professor was told by another Futafula man, Pullo. He was there in England. He said, look, I want to tell you something right now. I can get you to an area and you can look at these kids and then you tell me what you think. I want you to come there and examine them. Because he wanted to see if this education that he was told was correct. When he examined these 3 Fulani boys, 5, 6, and 7, you heard me talk about this last week. They blew him away. At 5, 6, and 7 years old, they had already learned how to map out the solar system, which is unheard of for kids that age. Their astronomical cosmic knowledge was off the charts, well, far more advanced what he graded at the university level, already at 5, 6, and 7 years old. These are Fulani little boys who were trained, and I'll get to who's doing this type of training. Cultural scientists, Quranic scientists, which he did not understand, but he talked about that, and he was briefed on this education Quranic scientists. And from what I read, he did come to Islam because when he came to visit us, our 3 small boys, our sons, he was mesmerized. Then the pastoral astronomy and the family law in Sharia, they were already briefed on this at the early age. And also what blew him away was the mathematical physics at their age they should not have had, because it's tough. But they were already taught by Baba. Baba already had trained these kids. And this is an important aspect to understand this here. This is our educational system well before the Western people got involved. This is what took us over the hump, why we were superior and why we carried the knowledge all the way across from one side of the ocean to the other side. And now you can understand that. Okay. We got here. You heard me talk about this. What blew away this professor also was in the nighttime. He found these young kids were already orientated. They explained all the rotations. They explained the rotation of migration of the cattle. They explained the time for rainy seasons without calendars or any other instruments to help them. That's important. Okay, that's the now we get into the people who are responsible for this. The Pullo intellectual is one of the persons and one of the people who give this education. You have Baba. Baba will train the children, but then there's also others who would train our young men. So you had some who were specialized in pastoral sciences. And so Baba would bring over another of the brothers to come to teach. So a lot of times Baba had all this information, but other times other people came and also discussed it, especially later on in the Middle Ages. We as we begin to have develop the Timbuktu educational system, we start bringing in many different types of scholars and intellectuals. And again, when these great intellectuals begin to come, they begin to shape our minds and our hearts, and they begin to give us education. And this, again, why it took us over the hump. And one of the greatest things, brothers and sisters, is the code, a Fulani code that you have to understand about our people that we have lost. We don't, because our history is not being explained to us anymore. We use the Revelation and Proverbs a lot to explain many events. When you begin to understand these Proverbs, it begins to help you to guide you through the Sahara Desert. It guides you to the rainy season. It helps you to manage your communities and so forth and so on. This wisdom was left down and handed down. And this is why these types of things were so profound. As you can read here. Okay, and and one you see, I start to adopt a lot of things that our ancestral fathers by quoting a lot of times the proverbs, like here at the bottom here, the stars are the pen that writes the sky. And if you understand this proverb, again, is by you look at the stars, it helps you to understand and gives you that understanding about what we're here on this earth and so forth and so on. It helps you to guide you through the night. It helps you to guide you from one location to another, and also explains to you the time of the rainy seasons coming. It also explains to you when it's time to migrate with the cattle and so forth and so on. Okay, so when we have, and we'll talk about this, the Silatigi, there we have, I'm gonna get into the scholars. We don't have these people too much anymore. They are around, it's just that we don't know a lot of times. They're old men now, like this man, 80, 90, some 100, many have died because we're not utilizing this education anymore. So our great fathers, now this information has been buried with them. They died and died many times without even teaching one Fulani boy all these sciences. And yet, if you have to understand what has happened to us, since we left our educational system, we became bandits, thugs, and we became criminals, and we became lost. We abandoned this educational system. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala has punished us for that. Okay, we talked about our intellectuals. Now, this individual here, brothers and sisters, is one of the classes here, Silatigi. And in history, he played a significant role. Not only was he a scholar in Quranic sciences, but he was also an intellectual, and he also had deep knowledge about the cosmos and the Earth's pulse. He can explain that. He was one of our teachers that trained us. It trained our children. See, and this class of scholars a lot of times was traveling across the Sahel. And this brilliant scholar was, again, pious. And we had tales about all of these men that I'm going to get more into here. We had tales of how they would say that a message was delivered that they wanted to see the Silatigi to come to them to teach. The distances were great, okay? It'll take you at least a couple of days. They said in a couple of hours, he would show up. These are things that were documented. That he just came out of nowhere. And he came from areas that it didn't make sense because they went through areas where they were wild, there were hyena, there were lions, there were baboons, and so forth and so on. And this brilliant scholar, who was not only versed in the Quran, not only versed in Quranic Arabic, not only versed in the worldly workings of the earth, but he was also very, very skilled in the cosmos. And he began to teach about the cattle. He began to educate you. Yes, you had the cattle there, but you did not understand the inner workings of our cattle. He would teach this about the cattle. He was asked you to study the cattle. And he said, when you are proper and you are pious, then the cattle will see this and they will follow you anywhere. And this is important. Got one comment here. Our brother, our cousin here said here. Yeah, yes. I'll get into some other ones you probably haven't heard of either, because our scholarship is so great and we lost the system. And I've been talking about things here and there about that. One of the things I figured why we've been punished, why, yes, everybody's after us. We left our educational system. A lot of it was gone because of the colonial system. After the colonial system, the caretakers of the government were making sure that we did not recover our basis and brilliance and so forth and so on. And these kind of men here today, we don't find them because most of them are dead now. And it's a shame because the knowledge that these people had, as I explained to you, in 2014, these three boys were trained by two. Modibbo, which is the scholar of Islam, and they were also trained by the Silatigi here. They were trained by both of these. As I explained to you, the professor found their knowledge, these three little boys, they tested three of these kids who were under, at that time in 2014, in a mystery system in the Sahel, not in the schools that we understand, but they were out under the bawbau tree learning, and they stayed there and learned under these two great scholars. Those three kids blew away this professor. The professor said he said, there's no way that these kids at 5, 6 years old should be able to map out the solar system. There was no way that these kids could look at the stars and map out and tell you when it's time for the migration and when the rainy seasons are coming without modern instruments. We go on and on and on. This is why this is so important, because this educational system, I want to push back, because now we have a lot, especially in northern Nigeria, we have a lot of uneducated Futafolo. We have a lot. And they don't go to school, okay? They don't want to go to the Western school. We understand, or there's because of the situation, the emergencies that's going on there. Let's go back to our system of education that we had before. Okay, let's go back to this education that's in Fulani. Let's go back to this tradition. This is our traditional education. And there's other subjects too that we cover here. This here, if we went back to this, if we understood this, when you go to astronomy and cosmic knowledge, you're going to get mathematics and you're going to get physics. You'll come out of that as an astrophysicist. See? And when you finish with Baba, you'll also be Hafiz in the Quran and in the Sunnah, Nabi alayhi salam. You have inner workings of the Sharia. You'll be able to apply all these to pastoral astronomy. Again, our little sons looked up into space and said, look, we have approximately 20 days before the star from Poseidon will show up. And we know at this time the rainy season will come. Brothers and sisters, that's why I said we have to get back to this system. We must get back to this system, and we must incorporate this again. If we go back to the system, yes, incorporate Western. I'm not trying to say we should not. Yes, go learn about what happened in the United States. Yes, learn history about Europe. It's good. We should have all this education, but we have a core education that would take us over the top. If we go back to this, we will field so many scientists. We need scientists today. We need them in astrophysicists. We need physicists. We need physicians. We need doctors. We need all this stuff. And the educational system that we had employed this type of knowledge to give us, and that we could educate. And I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, it's something. The educational system of the Fulla was so stringent. It was not a 5-year process. If you wanted to be a Silatigi, you had to go 60 some years. Can you believe that? Before you could teach. And you'll be tested. You'll be tested. Every generation, you'll be tested. And if you were still in age, now you qualify. Now you can go through the Sahel region and start to teach. This is what they did. When the Silatigi, when he showed up in areas, everybody knew who he was. And he began to teach. He was already Baba. He was already well into his 60s or 70s. Some, they said, was already 80. And he would come to a region and he began to teach. These boys who were trained at that time, especially in the early 1900s and to the mid 1950s, even under the colonial system, became wealthy. They became economists. They became physicists. They became astrophysicists. They became many different of walks of life. And we know this is to be the case. Boy, I tell you something, I got a lot. Okay, here we go. Now, if you want to understand about him, this is some of the things here that you can understand about this brilliant, brilliant scholar. We had classifications of these people, of our scholars. There's just not one scholar and he was a scholar. No, we had classifications of them. And of course, he was given Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's divine favor. And you see his contributions, his scholarships were off the chart. Many fields of endeavor. This is some of the legacy that when they taught, they educated. This is why we had so many powerful institutions, why we had our sciences and so forth. We had brilliant, brilliant sultanates. And not only were they wealthy, they were very educated because they had good teachers. Like the Silatigi, he's one that's responsible for many of our sultanates, especially in the Middle Ages. And when he left Timbuktu, he would travel across and he would give us this information, divine information that he was given. And boy, I wish we had them available today. Brothers and sisters, we need them, especially today. If we can take these young men and bring them under the Silatigi, they will stop all of this banditry and kidnapping and all this crazy stuff they're doing. We understand why they're doing, but because we have lost our system. Because since we have lost our educational system, brothers and sisters, this is why we're in trouble. Here is a depiction I have made up here showing you how in the times in the 1400s, 1500s, the Silatigi would show up and he would begin to educate. Yes, the farmer knew his animals. Yes, he understood the migration patterns. He understood things, but there was innate things that he did not quite understand because they had not reached Supanuatala's divine favor. So when the Silatigi showed up, he began to educate them so they could understand about that. When there were problems between clans, he would sit as the scholar and judge. This is how powerful he was. When they would call for him because there would dispute maybe between two clans, and they would call for him, he would come and listen to the evidence, and his ruling was final. This system is gone. And so you look at this depiction, this will help you kind of get an understanding the strength and the power behind the Silatigi, why he was so powerful, because he had Supanuatala's divine favor. That took us over the hump, and that's why we were so brilliant. Our educational system, brothers and sisters, was something. And you can read this here that I drafted up. You can see the stringent, how stringent it is. And special boys will be selected to be trained, and they will come Modibbos, they will come Silatigi, they will become some others, which I'll get into here. I don't want to give their names yet. But those different classes of Fulani scholars that mapped and made us great, especially from the 1400s to the early 1900s. And in the early parts, which I don't have much information on them, if they were prevalent, but we know the Fulani educational system was still prevalent even in 711 when they went up to Andalus. So now you have a glimpse of the stringent educational system that was deployed. And again, here is the Modibbo. I'll get more into him. We have many Modibbos today. They're all over. They are our scholars. They are versed. I'll give you the breakdown of what makes the difference between them. They, Sheikh Gumi, Sheikh Bala, Sheikh Sokoto, many of these are Modibbo. Because they're wonderful men, fathers, and scholars, Baba, and they are equipped and they have received Supanuatala's divine favor. Along with Modibbo and the Silatigi is again the education. The Silatigi, he would give more education as far as the earthly pulse and in the cosmos. Modibbo will give you more of the Quranic sciences, so you can understand the Quran and the Sunnah. So now you have some differences about why who these people were that gave us the education. And I haven't came to the big one yet, which I will here shortly. Ardo, now we understand he's also a big part of the scholarship system of the Fulani. His role is quite different in some sense, is that he usually is the leader of a clan or of a village. And at the bottom here, I gave you comparisons of how they are so that for your education, so you can get a better insight on about our educational system and the scholarship that we have and the scholars who were responsible for this education. The Ardo plays a heck of a role in our society still to this day. And so I gave you a breakdown about what he is. And he's different in many regards. He's different than the Modibbo. He's different from the Silatigi. He's different from both of these fine scholars. But he's just as important because he's head of the clan. He's like head of the table of some sort. He's head of maybe some villages, so forth and so on. and he would, manage, and he would also teach. And he was also, he may not have the Quranic sciences, but he had oral traditions to help to pass on to our children, so our children will keep these oral traditions going. So you have a little glimpse there. You have the Modibbo, you have the Silatigi, now you have the Ardo. These are classifications. We'll get to the other ones. We'll get to another one here shortly. Now, here sitting is again a Silatigi. He's sitting here with perhaps his family or extended family, and he's teaching. He's a master teacher, brothers and sisters. He's a master scholar. And he was not teaching the man at 20 years old, because by the time 20 years old, he had already been taught either by Ardo, by Modibbo, or another Silatigi. He was already trained. But when this Silatigi comes into the region, he began to pick up boys and girls. But the girls, he trained them separately if in the situation, or if he was an extended family, they would come and he would train them and he would teach them. Comment here. Okay, yeah, I have to go to work. I'll come back. Okay, my dear cousin, thanks for showing up. Thank you at the end of this, inshallah ta'ala. And so, again, his importance is not understated here. And as we look at the legacy of the scholarship, the Fulani legacy for the Islamic scholarship, I mean, brothers and sisters, I could go on for weeks. I'm breaking down some of this. I told you here the other day, I wanted to get on air and talk. I started uncovering, and just every time I found one thing, I went to another. I found another thing, I went to another thing. I started going over here, I found another thing. And it just goes on and on. And I had to sit back yesterday, and some of it I was almost laughing. Not laughing in the sense, I was just mesmerized about what I've uncovered. When I uncovered the Fulani system education, because I kept asking questions many times. I even said on the show many times, how is it that we are the master scholars of the region, of West Africa in particular? Why is our scholarship, why many scholars from outside of our own ethnic group and so forth and so on, why they honor many of our scholars? Now I understand. And this divine favor is from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And here you got the pillars of the Fulani scholarship and why it is so powerful. And this is something, brothers and sisters, I want to push, as you heard me talk about. I want Baba, who is Silatigi, is standing right there, to start taking our wayward youths. Bring them into an area and let the government fund it. And by the time he gets through with them, these men here that you see will stop being bandits and kidnappers. Because Baba would have them trained so they can understand. And he would help our young men here make Toba, to stop what they're doing. We should have the Silatigi training camps. We need to incorporate that. If the government don't fund us, we have enough rich brothers of the Full Bay to fund something like this. We got the richest people. When you look at per capita, we are some of the richest people in Africa. We have enough money to field this, to have these training camps. And that's another, my topic, I'll get more deep into that when I start covering the bandits and so forth and so on. But this is give you a precursor to say, why don't we bring a Silatigi? Because we have them, they're still here. It's just that nobody goes to them. You'll find them in the bush. You'll find them sometimes even secluded, even at 80 years old. Some are sitting with their families. Nobody is tapping their information. We go back again to the scholarship and why the Modibbo tradition is powerful as well. And can you imagine having professors? You have three professors. One of the professors I'm going to cover here in a minute will give you the mysteries, the mystery arts, the tempestuous arts. He will give you this, and he will give you the cosmos. He will give you the earthly, pulse. Then you have another scholar, the Modibbo. He will come in and give you Quranic sciences, and he gets you up to par on being how to be a Muslim. You have the Ordo, who would be a person who would train on the pastoral arts and sciences to help our brothers who are herders and so forth and so on. Then you have the Silatigi, who is encompassing all of this. So you would have all this education by 4 scholars who train you. Your education would be off the charts. Why the Fulani became the leading, as you've been hearing me say now, the early adoption of Islam, the culture that honors. We have our even when we were in ancient Tamari, which is Egypt, we were known as the Ka people because we took a religion and we took it hard, and we ran with it. When Islam came to us, we ran with it as well. And this is with some of this here, how we spread this knowledge across the system. And we have 3 of the 4 scholars, and the other one I'm gonna get to here, who would go into train the clans and so forth and so on, and they made us brilliant. And then we had the strong states and institutions to help us. We had different sultanates and a tradition of reform and revival. We had all of this stuff, brothers and sisters, that took us over the hump. Now you can get a better understanding of the difference between these 2 brilliant scholars. Now you kind of have a breakdown here that I drafted up to help you to understand the differences between them. And you can see this, and you can understand this system. We must go back to incorporate this. We need this system. The modern way of education is just not preparing us as our forefathers prepared us. And it's showing, definitely. Okay, this is Monoto. Okay, and also, brothers and sisters, in the Messina, Fulani Messina, another word for Modibbo is Minyoto is another. And here's talking about the bandits. I'll get to that another time here and whatnot. But I just want to give you a precursor to this talk that's coming soon as well. But I'm going to cover a couple of the topics, and then I'll get to the bandits. But the situation between the Minyoto or the Modibbo and the bandits is an important one, which I'll cover at a later date. And so forth. And I believe we should have these summits. Sheikh Gumi has already tried this, and with good success, but because of the cries of the government and those in it, and the populace who want to now take him out because of it, he had to stop this particular situation. Then the difference is, brothers and sisters, I want you to look at this and study this. I won't go into this because of brevity, but you look at this, to study traditional education and Western modern curriculum. Why this 5-year-old, 6-year-old Fulani boy, Fulbe, tested by the professor that came out from England who tested them. And under the Fulani educational system, they were being taught. They had a Modibbo, they had a Silatigi, and they also had another, which I'll cover here in a minute. They had these particular fine scholars to train these kids. Now, the professor, yes, he was correct in his assessment. Yes, they need more world education so they can understand about, different people around the world. Yes, they can have that. But even under the system, we can modernize that. We have the Silatigi. He can talk about the different peoples of the world because he has a great knowledge of the earthly pulse. See, and we have proverbs talking about things like that. Okay, we covered. Now, we talked about that. Now, brothers and sisters, we're going to get into the Jahkaabe people. I was mesmerized, brothers and sisters, when I came across information that was written in the 14, 15, 1600s about a class of Fulani scholars. They withdrew from public life, from pastoral life, and they began to live out away from all the trappings of the earth. When scholars and villagers and so forth began to hear about, or they witnessed feats that didn't make sense to them, they began to record these things. And some of the greatest of these were their innate Allah's divine favor for them and their mastery of the animals. And I got a depiction here of one of the proverbs talking about this situation here. We don't have these men today. We had people in the 15, 1600s talked about the Jahkaabe people, but they're Fulani and they're scholars. But they are they're almost like monks in some ways, where they got away from everybody else. We have another name for them in Islamic circles. And I'm not going to get into validity if they were right or wrong in what they did, but they separated themselves from everybody. And many times when there were caravans, they would find this man. They didn't even know anything. They'll go by a cave and you'll see this man step out. And when he stepped out, there were lions with him, protecting him, as recorded. As they began to go to other places of the Sahel, they began to encounter these brilliant and mysterious Fulani scholars. And they began to write about them. They said that when the scholars of this particular, I don't know what class you would call their scholars. They are versed in the Quran. They memorize the Quran. They can speak classical Arabic perfectly. They can speak Fulfulde dialects perfectly. They were masters of the cosmos. They were masters of the earthly pulse. They can look into the sky and they will tell you have 15 days left before the rainy season will come. The Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's divine favor. We have documentation of their students also who were gifted. And there was a dialogue between the head of the clans, of these clans, and they understood the lions very well. And as you'll see some of these reports that were written and the centuries that they're written and talking about that. We don't have that today. We don't have anybody among us who has this type of divine favor from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, where they can walk into a region of lions and do this. And as you read some of these reports, and in some they have, when in the colonial period of time, in the early, the late 1800s and early 1900s, even some of the colonials were talking about when they were trying to find the Modibbo. They were trying to find the Silatigi. They were trying to stop them, kill them, and jail them, imprison them to stop teaching. They wrote about coming into a bush area and they found lions growling at them. When they looked into the bush, they found these young men and Baba of this particular clan of people, Jahkaabe people, okay, they're Fulani. He saw them in prayer in Quranic studies. They came back to write about this when they said they found them and they found they were being protected by lions. Brothers and sisters, I don't know if, and now these are Tubab, okay? These are Tubab talking colonial time, they got away from there. So now you start to see why the Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's favor upon the Fulani people. We have many different styles of scholars. These particular people here are somewhere in between the earth and the cosmos, because it is not normal for any of us to walk through any region and have mastery over the lions and hyenas also. There's just no way. And again, they would separate themselves from everybody. And they would go and they would have their camp. When they began to find them and search for them, they always found lions protecting them. Brothers and sisters, I wish I could be around to see something like that. When they found their camps, they found they had the lion prides around them, and you couldn't get to them. It's like there's divine favor from Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who gave them these lions to protect them. This is the Fulani. This is the Fulbe. This is Pullo. This is the scholarship that we had reached. Why I said Allah's divine favor. This is Allah's divine favor that he gave. Oh, how you doing, my dear sister? Thank you for showing up today. Thank you very much, my dear sister. Thank you very much for showing up. Now you see this angle that I was talking about, why I said Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's divine favor. You have to be blessed by Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, where he puts you into a class of human beings. You were hafiz in the Quran and the Sunnah. You understood the earth's pulse. You understood the cosmos. You have mastery over the animals. And this had to be something that and these recordings are talking about. And again, these people, there's other variations of this name too. Okay, brothers and sisters, there's other variations of the name Jahkaabe people. They're Fulani, and again, there's another Jahkaabe people, and so forth and so on. They had different variations of the name, but they were deep into poetry. They were deep into Quranic sciences. They were astrophysicists, and they taught kids. And the kids who came under them, the young men went to their camps, were protected by the lions, brothers and sisters. This is documented. Even the Tubab colonizers came, and when he started to look for these men, he wrote about these issues and talked about that. When he came to a camp, he found it, and the lions was going to get to them. And when they looked, they found the camp, They see them there. They was asking why the lions not attacking them. When they start to do more investigation, they always found the lions around them. You couldn't get to them, brothers and sisters. They always had some lion pride around them. Proverbs, there's many. The lion does not harm the one who walks in dicker. One of the characteristics of the Jahkaabe Fulani people were dicker. They were always dicker, meaning those who are non-Muslims, meaning remembrance of Allah. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Alhamdulillah, all these dickers that we have, and they're in dicker. The bush knows the footsteps of the saint. We understand in English, but in classical Arabic, this is wali. This is what you call him in the Arabic language. But in translation, English is saint. The aesthetic walks, the lion follows. We have reports, brothers and sisters, where when villagers or caravans, people going through in trade routes, they saw a mysterious man walking through the Sahel. When they looked further, they found lions walking behind him. They thought the lions were there to kill him. But then they looked further. They see, because he was walking slow, the lions are walking behind him. He who walks with the lions walks with Subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are proverbs of the Jahkaabe Fulani people. They are a special class. They were herders, they were pastoralists, but then some broke away. And I don't, brother, sister, I'm still researching them. I was so mesmerized. I couldn't really, I'm still tongue tied. I got so much information on them. I just, some of it is just, and when I start to read, I was just mesmerized. Here, brothers and sisters, you have reports that were given about issues like this, of discoveries that were written down. If they had photographs and they had an iPhone, they probably recorded it. This is some of it. From the 11 to 1300s, there's another class of people too who are very similar to them. They're Fulani also, but they're mixed. They're mixed with Mende because they speak both languages. They speak Mende and they speak also Messina Fufode. And again, from the 11 to 1300s, reports surface of lions guarding them. Yes, brothers and sisters, these are reports that were written by Fulani scholars and by others. You have the lions recognizing Barca. They're saying that the lions recognize with Allah's divine favor on a Muslim, on a Fulani man. They know that's why this particular man can walk through and he's protected. You found the 16 to 1700s reports of written about lions actually bowing and escorting caravans. When these class of scholars, begin to go in caravans across the Sahel, they found them being escorted by the lions. And he goes on and on. One of my favorite is Seko Amadou. He was the last of the great sultans of the Messina, which you know is my favorite sultan. He was one of the last of the great founding fathers in the 1800s, early 1800s, of the last of the great Messina Sultanate. I uncovered about him. He would leave his clan and go out. When some began to find him, they found lions circled around him, listening to the Quran. as reported here between the 18 1900s. In the 1900s, in Funajello region, the Fulani clerics were being guarded by their prayer sites because they start to go and disappear because colonial period, they would get away and have just the Quran way out somewhere. And again, colonial people wrote about this. Other Fulani scholars wrote about this. We had common village, ethnic groups, Juju, whatever, all talked about issues like this. When they came into a region, all of a sudden they start seeing lions and growling and so forth. When they look inside, they found Fulani, scholars, most likely who I'm thinking they Silatigi or they were Modibbo. I'm not sure which ones being guarded. Their prayer sites were being guarded by lions. So, brothers and sisters, I don't know, perhaps many, because we in modern times, they don't care about this. Even probably my Fuller brothers and sisters, they don't care. But you have to ask the question why we still have the scholarship. We're still the leading, the Subhanahu divine favor is still over us because we have the greatest of scholars still today is our people, the people. No doubt about that. But we have a big gap between the scholarship here and the common folk. And ancient times, it wasn't like that. Yes, they were Baba, they were teaching us, and so from so on. But they didn't have this big gap because why? All the training. Now we have a class of people under the Fulla are not educated. Now we have a class of Fulla who are now involved in criminal activity. We have a class of Fulla people who don't go to school at all. They don't have no kind of education, Quranic or Western education. They have nothing. We should start to look at this in order to save our future generations. And I still believe in my heart, brothers and sisters, if I can find it here, where's it at here? If I can find it, the camps, is this it? No, this is part of it here, but damn for prayer. I got to be closing here pretty soon. Here is something we should, the camps of the Silatigi, we start to bring our people back to this and learning under these great scholars. This will get us back over the hump. I probably will assure you that we bring our youth back to training. Even those that are out in the bush with their cattle, they can be trained by this grand master scholar. And this is what we should get back to. There's no doubt in my mind we should get back to that. Because when our sons, the Silatigi would come and he would select youths out of a community. They would come and train under him, and out of this divine favor, they will have this again ability to go and walk among the lions. See, and we know this to be the case. So again, this timeline of our scholars and that of the mastery of the lions and the reports. So even I gave earlier, but I mean later, but you see here, you could the 11th to the 13th century, all the way to the 19th century, we have all of these reports about this. And here I have a map I drafted up on the research I've done about all of these scholars and where they were at and who, and so forth and so on, and how they, and what reports were given. Now you have a scholarship, you see with the scholarship and how our scholarship was so great. And now you have a map here showing you where and how this scholarship was so great, and how much encompassed of the Sahel region. And now you see that. And that's the, okay. So I got this to you, brothers and sisters, And and again, the foot to full scholarship has to be restored. And I don't know how we can do it with modern times today. I think in my heart, two regions where this can be really implemented again. That's in Mali, where this originated from, and in northern Nigeria, because the terrain and the Muslim scholarship is already there. I think we can go back to implementing this because we need this. See, we got to have that. We need this type of thing because when we start to bring these people into the mix, you'll see here when I get into this, I'll give you a dialogue of something that happened here, because bandits and criminals are not new, brothers and sisters, through the Sahel. We've had periods. This is why from about the 1000s to at least to the 1600s, we had Fulani policemen who manned the Sahara. They were policemen in the desert and in the savannah region. See, and so we know that there were bandits of all sorts. Not only Fulani, there were others who were bandits who would take the caravans and steal from them and kill the people, so forth and so on. So this here is not anything new, but I'll get more into that at another segment when I talk about this crisis that we have and how the Modibbo and the Silatigi, how they can play a role in this. The Jahkaabe people know, because these particular individuals will not get involved in something like that. They are aesthetic. They are out. They're dealing with the mysteries. That's their life. They're out away from everybody, and they're dealing with the mysteries. When you find them, you'll find them. And they say there's a proverb. They said that you want to find them. They say you follow the lions. It's not funny. In some ways, it is funny because when I read it, I started to laugh. Not laughing in a bad way, but they said if you want to find them, you go trail the lions, and lions will lead you right to them. Fascinating. Fascinating, brothers and sisters. Fascinating. So we're almost ready to close, and I'm hoping, brothers and sisters, that you guys get a clear understanding about this. And these are some of the things, again, that our people were trained in. Let me see. Okay, here we got another. I gave you. So this is for those who don't know about our brothers, our cousins. These are cousins. They're Fulani. They're again special class. They're out away from everybody, but they broke away. And you see, there's the definition and talking about these people and so forth and so on, and whatnot, and how they play a role and whatnot. And what they will do is they will come to a region, and I don't know how they know. They'll come to a region and they'll start to pick out young boys that they seem to know. These young boys turn back around, will begin to learn all the mysteries. And they will come back, and then this educational process will continue. It's been broken. We don't have it anymore. And this is why we're really hurting. And we should go back to this. And as you can see here, these are some of the practices of these particular scholars. And you see the lifestyle, they're nomadic. And again, the proverb says that if you want to find them, you trail the lions. You find a group of lions, you follow their pride, they'll take you to one of our scholarly cousins who are out there in the bush. They'll lead you to them because it seem like they're being protected. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave an order to these wild animals, to the lion, to go protect them. So Now you have some of this. And again, brothers and sisters, this is not something, when we talked about these class of people, that this is something that Sheikh Yahya came out of his imagination. When I came out and start to, now you can pull up the information on your own. You can start to do research. Maybe perhaps you'll get some good information, maybe not. Because matter of fact, I wanted to tell you something. I pulled up something on them yesterday as I started to do deeper research. When I came up in Google, they showed a Tubab. Yeah, because you know how that is. Anytime we have something that's fabulous, they're going to always put them in it. But anyway, you do some more research on them to understand who they were and whatnot. And go over this again, brothers and sisters. And you know, let me find that timeline, and I will close here. Where is it at? Where's that timeline again that was written out? We have documented of them. Where is that? No, it's not there. Where is that? Where is that? Where is it? Okay, it's the difference between the two, the timeline. Where is that time? No, it's not there. Where is the timeline? I want to get you back to that timeline again. Okay, this is one of the timelines here. Again, brothers and sisters, this is, you know, documents and oral traditions and about incidents, and you have a lot of it, not just one of those small incidents. You have over 200 years, and from 11 to 1300s of one of the king. There's many, and you see what he was a fabulous scholar. I think it was 1150. I can't recall, or no, it was 1200s. I can't remember when he's Fulani, and he was a master teacher, and he was another one that many wrote about. Other scholars wrote about him also. When he would go set out, he would have these schools where he would train under the baobab tree. And anybody who was not belonging in this thing, I'm not talking about children, but someone come up on them, the lions were there guarding them. And we also, I didn't put it here because there's so much information. In this period of time, they found students who had got lost. There were young men who got lost. Somehow or another, the lions were sent to these kids. When the kids saw them, they kind of knew, and the lions guided them back into safety, back into their villages, or back into one region. I don't know all the incident would happen, why they were lost, but we have reports in those 200 years of lions guiding students from one region to another. So, brothers and sisters, I'm hoping today, and I hope those who see this in the future, which I don't know, because now my station is just about, I've complained and bitterly complained. Nobody gets notifications. I'm working probably out of a dummy site right now. Even my StreamYard is not working properly. I don't know more I can do. I know I got a note again from one wicked Tubab who's trying to say, we're going to close you out. And I wrote back to him and I said, I don't know if he got it. And I said, look, can't you beat me fair and square? Why don't you beat me on the scholarship? This is not power here. This shows weakness and wickedness. Why don't you beat me on scholarship? You're a Tubab. You're supposed to be far superior than most all men. So beat me on scholarship. Why you have to do this wickedness here, messing up my station and stopping for my subscribers so they can't see my programs? And you know, like this morning, I went to Facebook, and Facebook, I found all kind of, I open, before I can open up, I wake up in the morning, I saw it, 27 notices. I said, okay. And this always happens. When I click it, they begin to erase it all. They want to show me, yeah, we know what you're doing here, but we're going to erase this. So I ask you, and those of you who are monitoring this now, beat me on scholarship. Don't try to beat me with wickedness. You beat me on scholarship. And let my subscribers, those who want to learn about Fulani history, let them learn. If you can do a better job than me, you come and teach. But this stuff of doing what you're doing, erasing my WhatsApp channel is just about gone. I told you I had 32 one morning. I woke up, there's 32 new subscribers to my WhatsApp channel. Just as I clicked the thing, they erased all of the people. So, you know, that's just the way it is. But I'm going to continue with this as long as I can, and I will continue to keep teaching this type of history because we should know. We should honor these ancestral fathers that we had. These were a special class, and now I gave you understanding about the scholarship, Modibbo, Silatigi, the Ordo, the Jahkaabe, all these different grades of scholars. Now you have this information that help you. Now you understand why the Fulani scholarship was so great. I gave you a breakdown on the schools, also how stringent the Fulani school system was. Okay, if I can find it here real quick. Boy, where's the system for Fulani scholarship? Here it is. The educational system that we had was so stringent, brothers and sisters. It was not something that was so easy. The learning and it took many years to master the topics. That's why that legacy and why Subhanahu divine favor was over us. Because he bestowed this on us. And this scholarship was so great. The scholarship was so great, brothers and sisters. And, I am just happy and proud that my ancestral fathers were pious men and Muslims. And they did their job. They trained the next generation. I wonder, those that we talked about in the 1100s to the 1300s and so forth, if they were here now to see the sorry state that we're in, they will be asking the same question I'm asking. They say, where's the Modibbos? Where are they at? Where's the Silatigi? Where are they at? Where's our Ardo? Where's the Ardo? All these great classification of scholars. Where are the scholars of the Jahkaabe clan? Where are they at? See, I know they will be asking this question to find out why. And they'll be looking at the baobab trees and asking, where is Baba? I don't see Baba out in the baobab trees. Why they're not there? Where's Baba and where's the students? They'll be asking these questions because that's how we learned. We didn't have the proper classrooms as we see today. They trained under the baobab trees. So I know our ancestral fathers will be asking those questions. And so I presented you with this facts today, brothers and sisters, and I'm hoping that you guys got something out of this, because this education is nothing to play with. And you can see when education stops, you see the trouble. Education stops for our population. Now we have a growing segment of our generation, our newest generation, involved in criminal activity. And from what I understand, many of them involved in this can't even read and write. See? And they don't even read the Quran. They don't even understand Quranic sciences. They know how to do wicked things. Because why? We left the education, our educational system, and look at us now, we're suffering because of it. That's something we have to rectify, because we got to bring these scholars back. We got to bring them back, brothers and sisters. We got to bring them back into the fold. We got to bring them back here to start teaching us again. And if the government won't help us, we're a foot full of people. We have wealthy people among us. Let them bring the system back, and we start to train our youth again. We start to train them. They will not be bandits. And we'll give them some livelihood, and Subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless them. And this system here has to be reinstated, brothers and sisters. It's got to be reinstated. The Modibbo, we have the Modibbo today. But because of the security situations, it's very difficult for many to train and to teach as our forefathers taught in freedom. Now they're not free as they were 200-300 years ago. But this system has to be restored. It's got to be restored. These training centers should be implemented again. Bring Baba back. Bring him to the wayward youth. Bring them to these. Bring the bandits and the kidnappers and bring them under Baba. Under Baba. Let him train. Put him under the Baba tree and let him train them and to get them out from this. And I bet you after the schooling with Baba, they will not be like this anymore. We have to, as the full of people, we must restore our educational system again, or we're going to die out. That's just the bottom. It's just the bottom line. And we're just going to die out, and we're losing all of this education that was given to us in the past. So, brothers and sisters, I'll be leaving you here now, and I'm hoping that you guys get something. And please spread this tape, and please subscribe. Also, is greatly appreciated. Oh boy, I don't see this. So where is it at here? Okay, yeah, and I would appreciate it if you guys subscribe, and please pass this on. I don't know how many people will get to see this, because now it's less and less people are being even view any of my talks, and it's really a shame. So I'll leave you with that. And my brothers and sisters, please be careful out there, and think and give your prayers, and don't forget your ancestral Muslim fathers and mothers and so forth. And ask Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to bless us even further and more today, so we can bring back our scholarship, so we can really truly lead like we have done since 7/11. Because we need to have this, and we need Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's divine favor more, because we've lost a lot of it today. And all of our learned men, Baba, the Modibbo, the Silatigi, you come across them, you honor them and give them your respect. Train under a scholar that you know today, even if it's on YouTube. Get under somebody and learn, so we can have that education again. So I'll leave you with that. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.